have housed what we call the chief executive officer, who ran a business for over 5,000 products. My question is cut and dry. Do you support and will you immediately get ready to change legislation for a general superintendent and an elected school board?
I support putting in a superintendent, a general superintendent, who is an educator, uneducated, and a leader, an individual who will understand that our top priority at this time has to be neighborhood schools. And that while we support our other schools, our selective enrollment schools, our magnet schools, and the charter schools that are there now, it is important that we begin to funnel those resources that have been going to fortify those operations into our neighborhood schools. An elected school board is something that I could see transitioning to, but I warn that if having an elected school board means that we're going to have aldermen and ward committeemen raising money to elect their guy, their person to the school board, then what are we accomplishing? What are we accomplishing? And so if we could establish public financing for an elected school board where there is an equal amount spent by each candidate, so it's a level playing field, and if we can come up with a structure that will ensure that there is regional, geographical, and racial and ethnic diversity on that school board, so that one part of town doesn't end up dominating the school board, leaving another part of town weakened, then we can transition to elected school board, because in a democracy, elections should rule. Elections are your opportunity to ensure that the best individuals are able to represent you in whatever entity. And so I will support transitioning to an elected school board if we can ensure those things.
I love what Miguel just said. I definitely support having an educator run our schools, not a businessman, because I think that they've shown that they're not in the business of educating our children. So we have to change that. And I also support an elected school board. But I think what's most important in this whole conversation is that we need to focus in on what the real problem is. The real problem is not so much the schools are not doing well, not so much that the crime is so bad, not so much the jobs are as they are. When I studied science, one of the things we looked at was getting to the root cause of the problem. And to me, the root cause of the problem is corruption. This city is corrupted from the top down. They use our money to defraud us. We pay for our own defrauding. It's time out for that. According to Dick Simpson, the University of Illinois, from the University of Illinois, he put out a report that said the cost of corruption in Chicago and Illinois is $500 million a year. We spend $500 million that they found out about a year. That's a corruption tax. And as mayor, I am committed, with your help, I'm committed to defeating the corruption tax in the city of Chicago. We will no longer hold the dubious title of capital of corruption under my administration. And no matter what you do to the schools, no matter what you do with the cops, no matter what you do with the downtown or the rail hubs or anything else, as long as corruption reigns, we will never get our fair share.
You asked a straight question, I'll give you a straight answer. We absolutely need to have an educator at the helm of the Chicago Public Schools. And that person should be, I believe, called a superintendent to suggest the commitment to education as their first priority and mission. That person, of course, can have a chief financial officer work with them to deal with the contracts and the jobs and all of the number crunching that has to happen, but we have to have an educator. And again, make the children a priority in our public school system again, because public education is the key to preserving opportunity. Public education is what we have to protect, and the superintendent, I believe, is the person to do that. I don't support an elected school board for precisely the reasons that Miguel Zavalla just pointed out. I worked, when I was in the state legislature, I was Mayor Harold Washington's floor leader. I was assistant majority leader in the legislature, fighting to hang on. They tried to strip him, for those of you who remember, they tried to strip him of the park district, of the airport, of the schools, because they recognized how important those entities were in terms of budget priorities. And I fought to hold on to Chicago Public Schools. And Mayor Washington at the time told me, he said, you've got to hang on to the schools because that's the only way you can make the mayor accountable for what happens with public education in the city. Well, we've gone a long way from the direction in which he's headed. I want, as mayor, to get us back in the direction of making public education a priority, working with the superintendent of schools, working with it, calling on the Board of Education to actually be a legislative body for the concept, instead of a rubber stamp, getting them to work collaborative, working with the teachers union. Because frankly, the scapegoating of teachers, making teachers the fault for all of these problems, including the corruption that Patricia points out, making the teachers the fault of all that is just wrong-headed and has not given us any of the results that we need to have with our schools. And so I actually made it before the red thing. Thank you.
As I've indicated before, I certainly support a school system that's run by a superintendent with the Type 75 certificate without deviation from that. I also strongly support an elected school board, a 6-member single district school board that takes into account all the geography concerns and the ethnic concerns, but with a president of that school board elected citywide, so that you have more accountability. When the responsibility of appointing the superintendent of schools as well as the board members rest with the mayor, then the mayor is the only person that can be held responsible. If you can hold each of those individuals responsible themselves and either elect them or not elect them, then we have more accountability in the school system and we'll begin to see results. It won't be about money, jobs, and contracts. It'll be about education, education, education. You know, one of the things that I seek to do is bring new industry to Chicago, and that won't happen if people don't have faith and confidence in our educational system. That particular industry is a thing called nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is the next big step after Silicon Valley. We didn't fight to make Chicago the world center for Silicon Valley development. China recognizes how important we are, and that's why the president of China is coming here. This is the only other place he's visiting outside of Washington, D.C., because he says that Chicago is uniquely situated. We have schools like Northwestern University, DePaul, IIT, Loyola, University of Chicago. We have Argonne laboratories, Fermi laboratories. We have vacant factories just waiting for someone to come and occupy them. People will come if we have a strong educational system that they can have confidence in. So that means that we have to release the political controls and make it a pure education system that's just about education and not about egos.
That's it.